Every bonding anniversary, Shawn would bring home a new human girl from the outside, always under the lovely pretense of letting me mentor her on how to serve an alpha. On our 7th anniversary, he brought back a nightclub girl dressed in a Princess Snow White outfit, cheap satin trembling under the chandelier's light. She doesn't have anything appropriate for an occasion like this, he said casually. Let her borrow your bonding dress and the jewelry I gave you last time. As for shoes, what you're wearing now will do. Then he added with a trace of irony, she's just a young human girl, clueless. Teach her a few things about our world, will you? Especially the part about the bed. Everyone was waiting for the spectacle, for me to break again, as I always had. And I didn't disappoint them. I looked at Shawn, my voice steady, and said I wanted a bond severance. He laughed, short and sharp, and leaned back like he was watching a comedy. Clara, when are you going to stop with this bond severance nonsense? I've heard it so many times. They're just human girls, while you are my Luna. How could they ever compare to you? Then grinning as if doing me a favor, he added, fine. If you really want a bond severance, I'll gift you a territory in the south. Consider it a reward for doing your job as my Luna. The room erupted in laughter. To them, I was ridiculous, greedy, jealous, hysterical. But what they didn't know was that this was the 365th time I'd asked for a bond severance. The first time, I truly meant it. When he found out I wasn't joking this time, he lost his composure. He searched for me across the world. Only after he realized I was no longer where he thought I'd always be. Chapter 1. Every eye in the room landed on me. Even the nightclub girl, barely inside the doorway, giggled behind her hand, following the lead of everyone else. Place your bets. I say she'll regret it before she even gets to the door. 1,000 moonstones say she doesn't go through with it. I'll call 300 on her staying. Wagers on my bond severance had become a tired tradition at every bonding anniversary. Some hated me when they lost their bets. The ones who won? They didn't like me much either. I let out a soft laugh and shook my head. Inwardly, I cursed myself, stupid and stubborn, for not leaving Shawn long ago and for staying until today. Then, from somewhere within the crowd, a voice rose, low, magnetic, and quiet as dusk. I'll bet on bond severance. It wasn't loud. The rest turned toward the sound, murmuring disapproval, some urging him not to waste his treasure. I scanned the room, trying to find the speaker, but whoever it was had already vanished into the sea of faces. Shawn, I said, voice calm. I'll send the bond severance agreement to your Alpha Bureau. Make sure you sign it as soon. I'd said bond severance 365 times before, but it was the first time I mentioned an actual agreement. Shawn straightened, startled, the cigar between his fingers dropping soundlessly to the floor. I ignored it. Instead, I crouched down, unstrapped my boots, and placed them carefully at the feet of the human girl. Her name was Shelley, in her early 20s, young and pretty. This pair of boots bite a little, I said quietly, but you'll get used to them. The dress and jewelry Shawn mentioned, Gwen the servant will bring them to you shortly. There were 7 others before you. Just ask them if you're confused about anything. They all live on the 3rd floor. Your room is the last one to the left. 7 years bonded to Shawn. 7 girls before Shelley. Enough to form an alpha harem in this den. The den was filled with human girls, tall, short, curvy, slim, shy, wild. Every kind you could imagine. But I won't be one of them anymore. I can't for good. I smoothed the invisible creases from the hem of my dress, stood up, and turned toward the door, barefoot, unbowed and expressionless. But a force yanked me back hard before I could reach it. Clara, Shawn growled. If you're going to leave, at least leave whatever I bought for you. Is there a single thing on you that's not a gift from me? I froze, the soles of my feet suddenly raw against the cold stairs. Even my breathing trembled. Inside me, my wolf whimpered, hurt, humiliated, and desperate. She couldn't bring herself to accept the truth. You want me to undress? I asked, voice hollow. Shawn raised an eyebrow, his gaze cutting straight through me. Back when your pack fell under the rogue attack, he said, his voice dripping with cruelty. Wasn't it your mother who stripped you naked and stuffed you into my bed? How you came here, as you know how, that's how you'll leave. Or, he added with a sneer, Have you changed your mind again? If so, I'll forgive you. Just kneel and wash Shelley's feet. The room erupted into laughter, mocking, roaring, cruel. Back when everything in my world fell apart, Shawn and I had only just started dating each other. Rogues attacked. My father was wounded by a silver dagger. Unconscious since then, his organs and limbs ruined beyond repair. My mother, desperate to make Shawn take our side, had poured us both glasses of charmroot wine, a dangerous herb. It mimicked the mate bond, forcing wolves to feel something that wasn't truly there. Shawn marked me that night under its influence, and my mother made sure every pack knew. That night sealed my fate, and ended whatever love Shawn and I might have had. We'd been pulled to each other once naturally, young, innocent, hopeful. But after the wine, it was all gone. He resented me for the trickery, so from then on he brought home the first human girl on the night of our bonding ceremony. Right in front of me, he touched her, kissed her, and took her to our bed, humiliating me. I was forced to listen, to help when asked, and then to clean up the aftermath like a maid. For 7 years I endured this. 7 years of kneeling. No more. Could strip away the last remnants of my humiliation. Then I would do it. I'll take off everything you send me, I said, voice steady, hand already reaching for the buttons. Chapter 2. Before anyone could react, I had already begun undoing the buttons of my coat. It was the coldest stretch of winter. My coat was thick and warm, shielding me from the icy wind howling outside. I stood by the door, where the wind still crept in sharp, whistling beneath my dress and clawing at my skin. Goosebumps rose on my arms and shoulders. I reached behind me and unfastened the clasp of my evening gown. The silk slid down, whispering against my body until the curve of my back and most of my shoulder were bare. Gasps scattered through the room. Oh my God! A few of the more timid ones covered their eyes. The male wolves didn't. They watched. Except Shawn. His expression was unreadable, but his eyes were dark, darker than I'd ever seen. His lips pressed into a thin, bloodless line, and the cigar between his fingers trembled. The gown slid lower. The cigarette burned his fingers before he noticed. He flinched, dropping it, and in the next second, he stripped off his suit jacket and rushed forward, wrapping it around my body. Clara, you really are asking for trouble. His voice cracked, not loud, but sharp enough to silence the room. Close your eyes. And if any of you breathe a word of what you saw today to the pack, I swear, you won't leave here alive. Get out. Now. Shawn rarely lost his temper, but tonight he did. The guests left quickly and quietly. Old acquaintances who understood when to disappear. Even the 7 human girls he'd brought into this den over the years had retreated upstairs. Only Shelley remained, standing beside the shattered silence. I tilted my head up, wrapped in his coat, and met Shawn's eyes. Are you satisfied? I asked. Can you let me go now? Tears were brimming, but I wouldn't let them fall. Not anymore. I had cried enough for Shawn. I had dried up entire oceans for him. Clara, he sneered, stop this pathetic act of fake indifference. It makes me sick. He still didn't believe me. Still thought this was a performance. Still thought I was here for him. Shawn, I said, voice steady, this time, I really want a bond severance. He laughed. Laughed like I'd told him a joke with no punchline. Then he grabbed the back of my neck and bent me forward, the pressure making my knees buckle. His wolf was way stronger than mine. Do you dare sever the bond with me? He whispered. Can you afford your father's healing fees without me? Or your mother's debt bill? Clara, your mother will be the first to kneel and beg me not to let you go. His voice was venom wrapped in silk. He hated her for drugging him. He hated me for standing beside my mother. And most of all, he hated that he had once wanted me. Even if she hadn't drugged me, he spat, I would have bonded you. I would have helped you. But she forced my hand. And you let her. You destroyed everything. I didn't speak. There was nothing I could say that would change his mind. He would never believe me. Not in this life, maybe not in the next. His grip tightened. He shoved me toward Shelley, pushing me to my knees. Wash her feet, he snapped. You're good at it. You've done this for 7 years. And I had. For 7 years, I'd not only taken care of Shawn, I'd tended to the girls he brought home. I had taught them, served them, cleaned up after them, helped them dress, and even helped Shawn undress them. Things I should never have done. Things I can never forgive myself for. But I only want to end it now. Cleanly. So I did as he said. I knelt. I took Shelley's foot in my hand, and immersed them in warm water. So obedient, it stole the satisfaction from him. He scowled, grabbed my wrist, dragged me into his bedroom. Then he tore Shelley's dress off in front of me. I'd seen this scene thousands of times. Sometimes Shawn even asked me to stay, to teach, to pass the tools. I handed some tools to him, a reflex under repeating similar circumstances. He slapped it away. We don't need those tonight. My hand trembled. I took it back. He didn't stop. But this time he looked at me. For the first time in a long while he looked at me. I didn't return the gaze. I didn't need to. There was nothing left in my eyes for him to find. He shoved me into the bathroom and locked the door angrily. The wind howled outside. Snow beat against the glass. Muffled sounds of movement and laughter echoed through the walls. I sat on the cold tile floor and listened. My arms wrapped around my knees, the tiles biting into my skin. The walls felt too close, like they were listening, like they knew. The light above flickered weakly. I didn't look up. Every creak of the bed frame on the other side of the wall struck like a blade. Every breathless laugh, every moan, carved deeper than the last. And still I didn't cry. I had cried the first time. The second. Maybe the third. But not tonight. There was nothing left in me but silence. He was supposed to be my mate. The one who protected me. The one I trusted before everything fell apart. Now he was in there, with her, while I sat alone in the dark, not even angry anymore. Just hollow. My wolf curled up inside me, wounded and quiet. She didn't snarl nor howl. She just lay there as tired as I was. I wasn't shocked. Not really. Not after all these years. But something inside me still shattered with every sound that slipped through the door. I used to fight. I used to beg. I used to hope. Now I just sat still, like standing in a blizzard, knowing the cold would take me eventually. And maybe that was easier than trying to stay warm. I stayed there all night listening. A sharp trill of my phone shattered my numbness. Miss Clara? Your mother has been attacked by some wild wolves. She's in critical condition. Please come to the hospital immediately. My heart dropped into my stomach. Shawn. I pounded on the door. Hands shaking. He opened it slowly, still shirtless. Kiss marks on his neck. Shelley draped over him like jewelry. What is it? He asked lazily. My mother's in the hospital. Please take me there. Please. I dropped to my knees begging. Tears spilled freely now, uninvited but unstoppable. Shelley scoffed. Seriously? At 3 a.m.? In a snowstorm? You expect us to believe that? She gestured out the window, toward the black sky and the thick snow still falling. Shawn smirked. Didn't even look me in the eye. Clara, you're even lying about this? He leaned in close. Or are our voices out there making you jealous again? Then he slammed the door in my face. I screamed, begging him to save my mother, because deep down, I knew she was going to die. My wolf sensed it. She was howling in agony, scratching at the door until her claws bled. So I did the only thing I could. I shifted. My hands turned into paws. I smashed the bathroom window with all the strength I had left and climbed out into the snow. Shards of glass tore into me. Blood spilled hot against the cold. I ran. There was no taxi at that time, just red blood, cold wind and white snow. A trail of crimson followed me through the snow. Then 2 sharp beeps. A black limousine pulled up beside me. The back window rolled down. And that voice again, low, magnetic, and unmistakably calm amidst the storm. Get in. Chapter 3. Inside the car it was dim and spacious, the hum of the engine low beneath us. The square-shouldered male. Wolf, as I could sniff, in the driver's seat didn't look back once. I thanked him quietly, once then again. He said nothing. Only when I reached for the door did his voice break the silence. Deep and magnetic as ever, like the quiet pull of a tide beneath ice. Clara, he said, besides Shawn, you have other options. There was a pause. If you ever think it over, remember to look for me. A gilded business card slipped into my hand. I accepted it with both hands, bowed my head, murmured another thank you, but my mind was already far away. I didn't even glance at the name. I just slipped it into my bag and ran. The hospital lights were harsh and too bright. I stumbled into the emergency room, heart in my throat. Before I could speak, a healer pushed a body past me, hidden beneath a white sheet. Has her family still not arrived? She's already dead, and her daughter's nowhere in sight. What a good daughter. Their words sliced through me like thin, cold blades. I rushed to the gurney, tore back the sheet. Scars crisscrossed the face I had once feared and hated. Her body was covered in jagged bruises, deep lacerations, and shattered silence. My mother. I had resented her every second of these 7 years for what she did, for what she forced. I dreamed of walking away from her, from everything. I had even once wished the entire pack would die with her. But now, faced with her broken body, all I felt was grief. Crushing, suffocating grief. There was no funeral. No mourners. No eulogies. The pack was down to 2, an unconscious, defeated alpha and his only daughter. I sat by my father's bedside until dawn, talking in broken whispers. About her. About myself. About everything I'd buried. I pressed my lips to his hand and choked out a whisper before I left. Dad, I'm tired. My mother's body had been cremated the next morning, and I brought home her ashes in a simple urn. I also brought home the bond severance agreement I'd had drawn up overnight. When I opened the door, Shawn and the human girls were gathered at the hall, laughing. Shelley was nestled at his side, her hand in his. I walked in barefoot, clutching the urn to my chest. Sign it. I dropped the bond severance papers on the table with a cold thud. Shawn looked up slowly, an amused glint in his eye. So you ran off overnight just for this? Clara, you've really become rebellious. I hugged the urn tighter. Shawn, I had severed our bond. Let's let each other go. I don't love you anymore. I would have shouted, accused and raged in the past. I would have pointed at him, reminded him of all the promises he broke, the way he once claimed to love me. I would have begged for understanding, for hope. I learned to cook his favorite pasta. I decorated the room with all the stars and moonstones he loved, just to make him smile. But girl after girl moved in. And with each one, my hope died a little more. Everything I did became something he used to belittle me. Love turned into a leash. Then, Luna Clara. What's this? Shelley bent down and picked something up from the floor. A small business card. She read it aloud, slow and sweet like a pup discovering something forbidden. Lucius. The name hit the room like a dropped plate. Shawn's head snapped around. Lucius. The rival who had haunted his pride since they were pups. The opponent he'd never met, but couldn't stop hearing about from his parents. Shawn's face darkened. Then his hand was raised. The slap to my face echoed through the room like thunder. My ears rang. I stumbled, the urn slipping from my arms. It shattered. Ash burst across the marble floor like a cloud of smoke. My mother's ashes. I froze. Then dropped to my knees, frantically trying to gather them with trembling hands. But I couldn't. No matter how I tried, I couldn't hold her. Then coffee splashed across the floor. Shelley laughed. Oops. Others followed. Cups tilted. Brown liquid seeped into white dust, turning it into something sticky and foul. Something unrecognizable. Ah. Something inside me broke. My wolf shattered the shackles of reason. My hands morphed. Fangs tore through my gums. With a snarl she lunged, teeth bared, eyes burning. Shelley dropped to the floor, shrieking, arms over her face, before Shawn reacted in time. Shawn, it hurts. He stepped between us. And just like that, my wolf stopped. She was just a human. My wolf shifted back. She hadn't even noticed. Hadn't seen the claws and the teeth. All her attention was on him. Someone called for an ambulance. Shawn grabbed my wrist and hissed through his teeth. You're coming with us. If anything happens to her, you'll die with her. Chapter 4. I was forced to take care of Shelley for 7 straight days. Only on the 8th did Shawn finally let me go. He said it was my fault. That I'd asked for it. I returned to the room where my father lay, still and silent, and I didn't go out. So this is where Luna Clara's hiding. Shelley's voice chirped behind me, sweet and shrill. Thanks to that blow to the head you gave me, Shawn's been spoiling me ever since. She sauntered into the room with a smug sway, her eyes sweeping over the medical machines like they were decorations. Is that your dad? Why doesn't he move? She walked over to him, rattled the oxygen tube like a toy. What's this for? Don't touch that. I shoved her back, my voice sharp. She stumbled, arms flailing as she clutched her head like I'd struck her again. And then she smiled. A slow, cruel smile. She yanked the oxygen tube free. Do you think Shawn will blame me for this? She held it in her hand, dangling it like a ribbon, her eyes sparkling with amusement. The heart monitor began to scream. And just then Shawn walked in. He took in the scene. The loose oxygen line, my father gasping faintly, me standing frozen, fury in my bones. His gaze flicked across us both. Then slowly he spoke. Shelley's still young. She doesn't know any better. Why did you still go after her? Your father's wolf was only going to get worse. It's better to end it early. I'll give your mother some more money later as compensation. The heart monitor flatlined. One beep, then silence. My body locked in place. Not from shock, but from something quieter. Relief. He was gone. And part of me was finally free. Shawn left the room with Shelley in his arms. I collapsed to my knees beside the bed, my hands trembling. I'm sorry, Dad. I'm so sorry. But in truth, I didn't know who in the world owed me an apology anymore. With no one to turn to, I took out the gilded business card I had ignored for days and dialed the number. Lucius, come pick me up tonight. Then I sent my father's body to the same crematorium that had taken my mother. But this time, I brought the urn to a quiet graveyard and left it behind. I couldn't carry their ashes with me anymore. Shawn hadn't come back yet when I returned home. The girls gathered around like vultures circling a carcass. You're in trouble now. Shawn's going to punish you hard this time. Do you still really want that bond severance? I didn't answer. I just walked to my bedroom and opened the door. Pick whatever you like, I said, voice cold. Everything in here is yours. They rushed in like a tide, grabbing dress, high heels, jewelry. They left my room, leaving only some photos on the floor. Old photos of Shawn and me, young, foolish, smiling. No one cared for those. I stayed locked in my room for the rest of the day. At dusk, Gwen came on Shawn's orders to check if everything was all right with me. I told her only one thing. Please forward him my bond severance agreement. She looked hesitant and questioned. For real? Later, when Shawn saw the agreement papers, he tore them up. This again. Clara, you've done this hundreds of times. Haven't you had enough? Keep her in the cellar. No food or water for her. She can be back in her room once she stops pretending. He didn't believe me. Not when I said I wanted to bond severance. Not when I said I didn't love him anymore. But the truth was, my feelings had long since withered. 7 years. 7 years of aching hope, of dying dignity. Now, with my mother and father both gone, what else was there to cling to? That night, I climbed out of the window and stepped into Lucius's car. Shawn woke to an unusually quiet den the next morning. No scent of moonfruit cookies on the table. No fresh silverbark coffee in his cup. No warm clothes ironed and waiting. He frowned. He climbed the stairs in a rush and threw open the door to my room, only to find it empty. Just silence. And a few photographs were scattered on the floor. Panic bloomed in his chest. Gwen, he shouted. Where's Clara? She rushed in, oven mitt still on her hand, startled. She looked around the empty room and shook her head. I don't know. Shawn's face twisted. I'll call her mother. Gwen blinked. Alpha Luna's mother is dead. Remember? The rogue wolf attack. She was cremated. A silence followed. Shawn's mind reeled, flashing back to that moment when I stood clutching the urn, voice trembling. His throat closed. He bent down, picked up one of the photos on the floor. His pupils shook. And for the first time in 7 years, something inside him cracked. He had never thought I would really leave. But I had. Then all that remained of him was an empty shell. Shawn sank to the floor, the photo still clutched in his hand. His voice cracked into the silence. eyes locked on my silhouette frozen in the photo. Clara, you'll come back, won't you? Chapter 5. The photo in his hand had been taken in our early 20s, on the streets of Paris. We had just gotten together. He was too shy to put his arm around my shoulder, but I noticed his hesitation, so I leaned my head against him. That was enough for the photo to capture something gentle, something real. Now, Shawn sat with the photo, carefully wiping away the dust and trying to smooth the creases. But no matter how carefully he tried, it remained wrinkled. Just like everything else between us, too damaged to ever be perfect again. Outside the door, the chatter of the human girls floated in. Today Gwen's making strawberry cake. We better hurry down for a seat. This dress is so pretty. Expensive stuff really is different. Hey, where did you get this hairpin? These shoes look amazing on me, right? Shawn frowned and turned toward the sound. Through the doorway he saw Shelley twirling in a long pink dress, the one he had bought in Italy for Clara. A gift for their 1-month anniversary. Stop! Shawn stormed into the hall, his voice sharp, eyes blazing. In an instant he saw them all. Each girl wearing pieces of Clara. A scarf. A jacket. A skirt. A bag. Even Clara's bonding moonstone ring, once sacred, was now on someone else's finger. Who told you to wear her clothes? Take them off. Who gave you permission to wear this ring? Everything that doesn't belong to you. Take it off. Now, his gaze swept across them, but their faces meant nothing to him. He couldn't remember any of their names. Not a single one. All those years he'd sweetened his tone and smiled at them to hurt Clara. But now with Clara gone it all felt like noise. Cheap. Worthless. The girls shrank beneath his fury. Most scrambled to pull off their clothes. Only Shelley stood her ground, muttering under her breath, refusing. Shawn's patience snapped. His eyes turned red with rage as he stepped forward and tore the dress from her himself. 5 minutes, he growled. Put everything back where it came from. Everything that ever belonged to Clara. He sent Gwen to supervise, while he rushed downstairs to check the surveillance. The guards opened up the logs. And there it was, Clara running barefoot in the snow. Footprints of her wolf staining the ground red with blood. Shawn inhaled sharply. Then he saw it, Lucius's car. Twice. Both times it had been Lucius who picked her up. Damn it. I never should have let that bastard show up at the anniversary. He cursed all the way home, heart pounding, and reached the door, only to hear the girls inside, laughing and gossiping. In the past, when Clara had sat quietly among them, not daring to speak even when they insulted her, Shawn had felt a perverse pleasure. But now, with Clara gone, it was unbearable. Without Clara, even life feels boring. She'd be washing our clothes by now, and making dessert later. Ugh, I kind of miss her. The words hit him like a blade. He had allowed it all, every little humiliation she'd endured. But hearing it now, spoken so casually, he couldn't stand it. Each word told him exactly what he had done. He had destroyed her. Gwen, he shouted so loud that the girls jumped. Tell them to pack their things and get the hell out of here. They stumbled over themselves, apologizing, saying they didn't mean what they said. But Shawn didn't care. He didn't want to hear them anymore. Bring the servants, he told Gwen. Pack their bags. I want them gone. Just then Shelley stepped in front of him, chin lifted, eyes gleaming. I'm carrying your baby, she said boldly. Chapter 6. Shelley touched her belly, flat untouched, wearing a smug expression as if she believed her lie could rewrite fate. But she didn't expect the way the other girls turned pale. That's impossible, one of them whispered. They're werewolves. It was only then that Shelley realized she didn't truly understand what kind of world she had stepped into. She might have picked up a few words, bonding, alpha, mate, but she didn't grasp their meaning. She could have known, if she had seen me shift that night. But she hadn't. And now, the girls who had seen too much were scrambling upstairs, packing their things with shaking hands. Shelley didn't understand the panic. She couldn't fathom why the word pregnancy wasn't enough to change Shawn's mind. She still thought this was a normal relationship. Still thought she had power. Shawn stood there, face cold and unreadable. But when he spoke, his voice was sharp and clear. Gwen, call the witch healer. Have them prepare for a memory erasure, every single one of them. That was the true reason why human girls could ever live among werewolves. Our kind had mastered the magic to erase human memories, especially when they became too attached or too afraid. Shawn knew Shelley was lying about the baby, but that word, baby, still pierced him. He never wanted a pup, the reason why he tended to find human girls. Not with other she-wolves. Not even with me. Back then, just 2 months after our bonding, I found out I was pregnant. I hid it at first, terrified of what he might do. I planned to run, but I never made it far. He found me, dragged me back. And in the struggle, the pushing and shoving, I lost the pup. That day, Shawn looked at me with scarlet eyes full of hatred. He called me cruel. Said I had no heart. To this day, I still don't understand why I was the one accused of cruelty when I had lost everything. Now, Shelley, desperate to stay in this gilded cage, dropped to her knees in front of him. Please, I don't want to go back to my old life, she sobbed. I want to stay here. I love you. Alpha Shawn, didn't you say you loved me most? That you favored me? Why can't I stay? Shawn turned back, lowering his eyes. A flash of disgust passed through them. Love, he sneered. You think you're worthy of it? His words cut through her, cold and final. Shelley stared at him, and for the first time, she saw what lay beneath his smile. She shivered. Shawn turned and walked away without another word. He had more important things to do. Gwen sighed softly and guided Shelley away, telling her to wait for the healer's arrival. When I left the den that night, I had collapsed from exhaustion, both physical and emotional. My body had been fighting for too long. I drifted in and out of consciousness for several days. When I finally woke, it was Lucius who sat at my bedside. The pale morning light filtered through the curtains and touched his hair, making it shimmer in silver gold hues. It looked soft, like moonlight woven through shadow. I reached out, almost without thinking, my fingers stretching toward him. That's when I heard him murmur in his sleep. Lara, run. Lara? My hand froze midair. Was that me? Had I been someone else in his past? Lucius wiggled in his sleep, and I panicked, quickly retracting my hand and squeezing my eyes shut. But it was too late. Waking up but still pretending. His voice was low, tinged with morning rasp, husky, magnetic, almost boyish in its sleepiness. I couldn't help it. I laughed. When I opened my eyes, I found his gaze waiting, warm, unguarded. Get up, he smiled. The cook made your favorite. Lucius helped me sit up, his hand firm and steady as it brushed my hair from my forehead. Shadow mushroom soup. I hadn't had it since I was a pup. My grandmother used to make it by the lakeside every summer. After she passed, I could never eat it again. It just didn't taste the same. Even the cooks at the den couldn't replicate that flavor. But as I brought the spoon to my lips and tasted the broth, I froze. I was there again, on that grassy hill, chasing fireflies, the sun warm on my back. This flavor. How is it the same as hers? Lucius just laughed softly and said, It's a secret. I giggled, tears pricking my eyes as I buried my face in the bowl, eating every last bite. And just as I lifted my head, a crash echoed from outside. A car had rammed through the gate, smoke and dust curling from the broken fence. From the wreckage stepped Shawn. His eyes were wild. Lucius, get your ass out here. Guards rushed forward, blocking him, but Shawn didn't stop. He shifted fully into his wolf form, for bristling, teeth bared. He was out of control. I knew exactly why he was here. I stood up, heart pounding. I didn't want Lucius dragged into this. But before I could move, Lucius reached over and pressed his hand over mine, steady and unshaken. His fingers tightened. You're not going anywhere, he said softly. If he wants you back, he'll have to go through me. Chapter 7. Lucius. You've loved stealing from me since we were pups. Now you even dare to steal my beloved Luna? That was the first time I'd ever heard Shawn call me that. His beloved Luna. Over the years, I'd been called that she-wolf, that bitch, or simply her. Sometimes Luna was used mockingly, but never beloved. And now he used it like a badge of honor. I almost laughed. I followed Lucius out, my steps steady but my chest tight. In the courtyard, Shawn's wolf thrashed under the weight of the guards, snarling and bleeding into the snow. Still the pain inside me swelled, coiling deep in my lungs, suffocating. Clara, Shawn's voice cracked. His eyes were red, like back when we were young. When we first dated, he blushed every time I looked at him too long. When he felt insecure, he'd ask me softly with red-rimmed eyes, "Do you love me?" And I'd always smile and coax him gently, treating him like a timid pup. I liked taking care of him. I liked how soft he once was. But that tenderness was long gone, shattered by my mother's scheme, drowned by years of bitterness. "Shawn, go back to your pack. I'm not going with you. My mom and dad are both gone. There's nothing left for me there anymore. The price my mom made you pay, I've already repaid it. 7 years of humiliation is enough. From now on, we owe each other nothing." Shawn's eyes grew even redder, brimming with something like remorse. "Clara, I didn't know your mom had died. If I'd known, I never would have said those things. Please believe me. I don't blame you for any of it anymore. Let's start over. Let's live a good life together, okay? I already dismissed those girls from the den. You'll be the only Luna from now on, I swear." His voice trembled. He couldn't even meet my gaze. His words fluttered in the air like fallen leaves, too late to matter now. I shook my head slowly. Then I reached for Lucius's arm, leaned into him, and looked down at Shawn, just like he once looked down at me. "Shawn, on our 7th anniversary, I said bond severance for the 365th time. From the very first time I said it, I decided, if I ever reached 365, I would truly sever the bond. And now I have. Love is gone. I really don't love you anymore. Please remember to sign the bond severance agreement." I turned and walked away, back toward the house. But each step I took felt like a blade twisting in my chest. No, I didn't love him anymore. But no amount of healing could erase the pain and humiliation I'd endured. Behind me, Shawn's wolf let out a blood-curdling howl and charged forward. But Lucius shifted in a flash, his wolf form larger, darker, more imposing. He pinned Shawn in a single strike, his voice a low growl in Shawn's ear. "If you break in here again, I'll make your whole pack die with you." The warning was cold and final. Lucius's pack was the most prestigious in the South, powerful, noble, and feared. Even with wealth and numbers, Shawn's pack couldn't match it. That truth had always festered in Shawn's heart like a thorn. It stung worse now, because it was Lucius who held me. "If you won't sign the bond severance," Lucius growled, "I'll find another way to keep her from ever coming back to you." I didn't see how Shawn left. I only knew silence returned, sharp, absolute. That night, Lucius sat beside me under the stars. The sky was cloudless and pale, scattered with pinpricks of light. His presence was quiet, warm. I glanced sideways at him. That profile, sharp nose, long lashes, looked strangely familiar. "Lucius, did we meet when we were pups?" He turned to me sharply, his pupils narrowing in surprise. "You remember?" I shook my head. "Not really. It's just a feeling. Like I know you somehow." Lucius looked away, and a soft shadow fell over his face. He lowered his eyes, voice almost wistful. "We spent every summer together by the lakeside, before I turned 12. I blinked. I had no memory of that. Lucius noticed my silence and smiled gently, brushing a stray hair from my face. "It's all right. We have plenty of time now to make new memories." His words were warm, but somewhere inside me, that old weight returned, pressing on my chest. "Lucius," I said quietly, "you know how our kind can erase memories from humans. Can we do that to ourselves too?" Lucius looked at me, brows tightening slightly. "Why?" "Because," I whispered, "I want to start over. I want to fall for you as someone brand new, not the broken girl I am now." He didn't answer right away, but he reached for my hand, lacing his fingers through mine and held on. Chapter 8. Half a month later, Lucius and I held our bonding ceremony. The southern packlands gathered in celebration. Alphas, their lunas, and dignitaries from the most powerful clans. The air was thick with forest-scented colognes, laughter, champagne, and murmurs of power. At the center of it all stood Lucius, with my hand held firmly in his. Everywhere we went, he introduced me without hesitation, pride gleaming in his voice. This is my Luna. I wore a gown from Italy, flowing silver silk stitched with tiny moonflowers. It was the only one of its kind. I saw that gown once in Milan. One Luna gasped, brushing her fingers near my sleeve. I can't believe it was bought by Alpha Lucius. For you. Lucius chuckled, then leaned in with a wink. I promised to be more subtle in the future. But not today. The way he smiled at me, the way he spoke my name, Lara, made me feel like I was the happiest in the world. But the peace didn't last long. Clara. A sharp, guttural voice sliced through the music like a blade. I froze. Turning around, I saw a tall male wolf striding into the banquet hall, eyes wild, shoulders squared with aggression. His presence made the room falter. Conversations halted, gazes darted. A few guests instinctively stepped away from him. I stared confused. He called me Clara, but I didn't know him. My fingers curled around Lucius's arm. Clara, he growled, his voice breaking with something like desperation. You're still my Luna. How could you bond with someone else? Lucius immediately stepped in front of me. Calmly, firmly, dangerously. Shawn, he said, voice laced with iron. I warned you not to cross the line. Lucius's wolf surged forward from beneath his skin, eyes glowing like cold gold, form towering and lethal. He blocked me completely from the stranger's view. I watched from behind his broad back, heart hammering, breath tight in my throat. The male's handsome features twisted with fury. His once polished demeanor now crumbled into something feral. You think I'm the one going too far? The stranger, Shawn, barked. She's mine. You stole her from me. He shifted, his wolf snapping into shape with a growl that sent shivers down the spines of lesser wolves. Lucius didn't flinch. He turned and pointed calmly to the glowing screen on the banquet stage, where the words were written in silver-gilded script. Bonding ceremony of Alpha Lucius and Luna Lara. Look again, Lucius said coldly. Her name isn't Clara. Her name is Lara. For the first time, Shawn blinked. He looked up at the display, then at the invitations pinned around the room. All of them, Luna Lara. His wolf stumbled half a step, as if physically struck. Clara, he called again, more softly now. He reached out a paw toward me. Don't you remember me? I stepped back. Instinctively. My heart was racing. He looked on the verge of collapse. But I couldn't let that shake me. I don't know you, I whispered. His paw froze in midair. His eyes, wide, disbelieving, searched my face for even the smallest flicker of recognition. I'm Shawn, he said, almost like a pup. We were together for over 7 years. How can you not remember me? Did Lucius do something to you? I shook my head again. My fear of him was rising fast, clouding everything else. I searched my memory, desperately, but found nothing. Just a stranger's name, and an instinct screaming at me to run. Shawn's voice grew wild again. He shifted back into human form and fumbled in his coat pocket, pulling out a small, beaten box. Look, your mother's ashes. I kept them. See. Inside the box was a lump of brown powder, clumped and oddly sticky. It looked wrong, unclean. Something cold gripped my spine. I staggered backward and hid behind Lucius's wolf, who immediately growled low and protective. The banquet dissolved into chaos. Alphas barked orders. The warriors moved in. Shawn's last cry of Clara was drowned by the sounds of struggle and restraint. Lucius ordered him thrown out. The last thing I saw was the pain and disbelief in Shawn's face as he was dragged away, still calling out a name I no longer answered to. It was late by the time the party ended. Lucius stayed to see off a few old Alpha friends. I waited alone inside the venue, sitting on the cool marble floor, hugging my knees to my chest. My new gown pulled around me like a second skin. Then I felt it again, presence. I looked up. There he was. Shawn. He stood a few feet away, hands raised slowly, carefully, as if trying not to startle a wild creature. Don't be afraid, he said softly. I won't hurt you. His voice was trembling. I just wanted to say my name is Shawn. He stood there in the quiet, looking like someone who didn't know how to breathe without me. And though every part of me said to run, I stayed. Chapter 9. The male wolf took out a few photos, a diary and a cell phone, and shoved them into my arms. I looked down at the crumpled photos. They were unmistakably of me, with the male wolf in front of me, Shawn. This is me and you. Could it be that we were really mates? But if that were true, why did I feel nothing? I opened the torn diary. It documented a love story from 7 years ago, ours. Between the lines, I could feel the warmth of a young couple in love. I had written about Shawn's thoughtfulness, his small gestures of care, and my devotion to him. That kind of sweetness practically spilled off the page. The memos on this phone are about our daily life too, Shawn added quickly. Half-heartedly, I opened the phone. Indeed, every note and memo was about Shawn. But then, a dull pain pressed down on my heart. My hand trembled as I tapped into the deleted drafts. There, one memo recorded the names of 7 human girls, alongside detailed notes on their preferences. I froze. Pointing at the screen, I asked, "What is this?" Shawn's face changed. In a panic, he reached over and tried to delete it again. "Shawn," I said, voice tight, "you said we've been together for over 7 years. Then why are all the memories only from 7 years ago? What about everything after that? Weren't we together?" Shawn blinked, his mouth open, but no answer came. I sighed and flipped to the end of the diary. There, in my own hand, was a final desperate entry. A record of everything I had endured over the past 7 years. Every hurt, every humiliation at the den. The ink had blurred in places where my tears had fallen long ago. My own words made my chest seize with pain. "Shawn, are these true?" I held up the diary with trembling fingers. His face went white. He opened his mouth to explain, but the silence that followed was louder than any lie. "Maybe I really did love you once. Or else why would I have endured all that, just to stay by your side?" My voice cracked. "But now I truly don't love you anymore. Shawn, goodbye." I wiped away my tears and stood up, but Shawn grabbed me and pulled me into his arms. "Clara, don't leave me. Please," he begged, his voice breaking. "I know I was wrong." He tightened his hold on me, ignoring my struggle. My clothes were torn. I screamed and fought, but he wouldn't let go. Then suddenly he was gone. Lucius was there. With a roar, Lucius shifted and bit down on Shawn's shoulder, slamming him into the ground. Shawn lay there, unmoving. Lucius's eyes were burning red as he stood over him. "Shawn," he said coldly, "you're counting the final days of your pack." I hugged Lucius from behind, trying to calm him. His muscles slowly relaxed. He shifted back and gathered me gently into his arms, whispering softly to soothe me. After that night, I never saw Shawn again. But I heard the rumors that his entire pack disappeared overnight, vanished without a trace. No one knew who had done it. They only said it was an alpha and that his Luna looked very much like Shawn's former mate. From that day on, there was no Clara, only Lara. This Lara had no painful memories, no nightmares, no more heartache. And this Lara was loved deeply by Alpha Lucius. Years later, Lucius and I had a pup of our own. At our pup's first full moon celebration, a small package arrived. Inside was a little pink dress, and a card signed 7 years. I stared at it for a long time. My eyes welled slightly. "Come on, love. Time for the photo." Lucius waved at me from across the garden, holding our pup in his arms. I smiled, then dropped the pink dress and the card into the trash. A new life shouldn't be tethered to the past. The brave keep walking forward. No looking back.